yeah, you want to do the practice? Okay, let's do it then, right? So. What did she shout? Why is she shouting like that?
I thought that was your drink. Because I sat here before and she's going, get me my drink, get me my drink.
And what's your relationship? She's the abuser. What's going on?
She's dead bossy.
Now you're still friends. Okay. Well, I am going to sit back there though for this next time. Is that alright? Yeah, is that alright with you? Sorry, I'm shutting the boss. Is that okay? Yeah, just sit there. It's not mine, is it really? What are you doing? What? Just out of interest, right? I know we've got a midwife here, but we've got any doctors in the house because we've got a few people that are having strokes and it's anyone who works on the NHS, are you still on strike as well? Fucking. You work for the NHS, right? Okay. You can't help yourself then, can you? Right, we're going to go for it now, right? So we're going to bring... You know when you come into work and you think, alright, this will be a good night, and then you think, I blacked out somewhere. We're going to have a quick practice, so let's remember the numbers. So, what's number 1? Number 2? Number 3? Number 4. Okay, here we go, right? We're going to bring on Nathan and Virica, ladies and gents, boys and girls. So, if we're all ready, number 1! Number 2! Hello, Newcastle. So, my name's Nathan Virica, and as you can probably tell from the way I'm dressed, I am a failed musician. Don't know if any of you in here tonight have dreams of your own. From what I can sort of see under the lights, probably not. But on the off chance you do, just try and make a success of yourself, otherwise, well, this is going to be you in a few years' time. But when I was like 20, 21, I had massive dreams of music superstardom. But in the end, the closest I ever got to emulating the likes of Bono or Gary Barlow. Was when I was late paying my council tax once. On a loosely musical note, we got The Masked Singer back on TV, new series, started at the start of the year. Thus immediately removing any hope that 2023 was going to be any less shit than 2022. And I've got to say, I've never been able to sit through a whole episode of it, but whenever I've seen little clips of it, it's always been Joel Dommett shilling it with the same line. He goes, "The greatest kept secret in television history." Yeah, I think Jimmy Savile's victims will probably... One of the worst things ever to come out of Leeds. Arguably second only to the Kaiser Chiefs. Furthering this light-hearted music theme, I've got the Brit Awards coming up in a few weeks. I don't know about anyone else, but my favourite memory from the Brit Awards in recent years was the time Madonna fell flat on her arse. And I personally say that as a fan and connoisseur. of watching videos of old women falling down flights of stairs. But she kind of fell over that massive cloak she was wearing, didn't she? And to this day, I still don't think she should have worn that to perform. I think she should have stuck to using that for its original purpose, concealing the children she's stolen from Africa. So, once the year just gone by, 2022, the delivery company Hermes changed its name to Every. I mean, the name change would have come into effect a lot sooner, but they kept delivering the official paperwork to the wrong address. And I have to say, as someone with a sort of passing interest in Greek mythology and Greek history, I much prefer the old name. Because I think there's probably some studency types among you tonight who will know, like me, that Hermes is the name of the Greek god of indiscriminately lobbing parcels into random I think a lot of people tend to get sort of hung up about irrational things these days. For example, I've got this friend who's got a fear of flying. And recently she was supposed to board this flight and she was really terrified about it because there was some sort of terror alert out at the time. And sort of being the loving, caring friend that I am, I had to reassure her, you know, it's incredibly rare for a flight to be brought down by an act of terrorism. And I had to sort of explain to her that it was far more likely that her plane would be brought down by bad weather, pilot error, or some sort of sudden mechanical failure. She's such a worrier. But in all honesty, I'm not really that big on flying either. I've kind of a bit scared of it. And it always annoys me when you tell people this, and their response is always something along the lines of, oh, but statistically, you're far more likely to crash in the car on the way to the airport than you are during the actual flight. And it's like, well, that may be true, but my response is always, you know, surely you're far more likely to survive a 30-mile-an-hour prang in a Nissan Micra than plummeting 35,000 feet at terminal velocity into the middle of the fucking sea. Mind you, I suppose Nissan Micras don't have whistles and life jackets on them, don't they? Yeah, that's what makes all the difference. So a little bit about me, a little bit more. Sorry? That's right. A little bit more about me. I recently discovered that scented toilet paper is a thing. This is what happens when your mum decides she's going to come and stay with you for a few weeks. Stuff like this just sort of turns up unsolicited in your house and you sort of have to make the best of it. But to cut a long story short, I may be single, I may be the wrong side of 30, and I may be skint, but at least I now have a lovely lemony bellend that I can be proud of. Actually as I was going to say, that last bit isn't entirely true. As of 2 months ago, the actual big story in my life is I recently got engaged. Thank you. Thank you. And the thing about my fiance is because she lives in Finland. We were together in Helsinki sort of over New Year, and she's generally a lot more practical and locally aware than I am. And during this time, she exasperatedly said to me one afternoon, that dating me was like dating a teenager. And I still have these really hurtful words ringing in my ears as I nipped off to the gents to literally douse my crotch in Lynx Africa. And ask one of the locals how to use the condom machine. But going back to my mum staying with me, this was just before the trip actually. She rang me from Lidl one afternoon and sort of said what time she was going to be home and said, well, I'm at Lidl, do you want me to get anything? And you know, I was thinking pragmatically for once, yeah, I've got to go to Finland, it's a notorious winter country. Could you get me some thermal trousers, if they've got any? And what she came back with was 2 pairs of Lidl's own brand women's ties. And let me tell you now, I took those women's tights to Finland and I wore them. And I found them quite comfortable and warm. To the point where I'm actually wearing them tonight under my jeans. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I may not set out to become one, but I am officially now a proud member of the LGBTQ community. Specifically the T-bit. And I don't give a fuck whether J.K. Rowling likes it or not. That last bit was wholesome, this next bit really isn't. Yeah, so I got a leaflet through the door the other day from my local takeaway. And I've not tried it yet, but I've heard some good things. It's called Al Capone's Pizza. And it got me wondering, how come it's okay to name a business like that after some infamous criminals? But not others. Darling, do you fancy Ian Brady's fish and chips tonight? Yeah, I know, but we had Levi Belfield's burgers last weekend, don't you remember? Fine, Peter Tobin's tandoori it is. Come to think of it, when I lived in Essex for 10 years, the local chippy to where I lived was called Churchill's. So it stands to reason, somewhere in Munich. There's an equivalent bratwurst and potato takeaway called Hitler's. I did actually do a bit of research into that joke after I wrote it, and apparently there is such a place in Poland. Apparently their oven's been on the blink since 1945. Don't worry, that's as dark as it is. No, it isn't. But this next one, I think there's a sort of an important point in here somewhere. It's sort of about charity and philanthropy, that sort of thing. A friend of mine came over for dinner the other day, and we were just sat eating our dinner in front of the telly, when one of those charity appeal adverts came on. And it was, you know, the usual horrendous sort of thing, you know, starving kids with no clothes on, flies buzzing around their faces, drinking dirty water, that sort of thing. And my friend turns to me and he goes, do you know, I really hate how they keep showing these adverts when people are having their tea. And I kind of thought about this for a second and I thought, well, you know, they probably do that deliberately, don't they? And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, you know, like the contrast. Look at how much these poor kids are suffering and look at what you've got. And I for one am really glad that they choose to show these adverts when people are having their tea. Because it's far easier for me to hide my erection when I've got a dinner campaign. reached a bit of a crossroads in the set. I must ask, have we got any royalists in the crowd? Any sort of die-hard monarchists? Well, I've planned the set already, so you're stuck with what I've got prepared. So yes, I don't know how many of you heard, but last year the Queen died. I think it was in a couple of the local papers. And so this obviously prompted, when she was lying in state, you know, the queue for the Queen. You know, people from, you know, from all genders, of all ages, from all backgrounds, queuing for up to 24 hours to see the Queen lying in state. And I think the last time that many young girls felt obliged to queue up to see something cold and stiff was outside Prince Andrew's bedroom at Jeffrey Epstein's house. Say what you like about Prince Andrew, but he sure knows how to throw a party. And then, of course, we had the funeral, which was quite hard to avoid, considering it was on every channel. Apart from Channel 5, who opted to show the Emoji Movie instead. Which did kind of answer a question I've been asking myself for a few years, which was, under what circumstances would I ever consider watching anything that had James Corden in it? I shouldn't be too hard on James Corden. I mean, after all, he was one of the many celebrities to speak out against the overturning of Roe versus Wade in the United States, which obviously made it harder for women in the States to get an abortion. And of all the celebrities to speak out about it, I found James Corden's, what he said to be, the most powerful. Because I can't think of a more effective advert for abortion. Than the existence of James Corden. Moving on to more light-hearted matters. Well, more television matters actually. End of last year, we had the latest series of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And yeah. And I myself actually watched it, and I thought Boy George, in particular, especially during the Bush Tucker trials, he did really well. He kind of overcame everything that was thrown at him, and he absolutely smashed it. And for me, it was really wholesome and made a nice change to see Boy George beating something that wasn't handcuffed to a radio. And I also quite like the nostalgic touch of sending Matt Hancock into the jungle as well. Specifically the nostalgia for the days when Britain used to send all its most dangerous criminals to Australia. Which brings me neatly on to the Tories. Yeah. The lineup may have changed in recent months, but they remain the single most dreadful party that Britain's seen since that one at Michael Barrymore's house about 20 years ago. And it's not just the Tories themselves either. It's especially if you're on Twitter, you'll have encountered these people. You know, the uber nationalists, like Brexit above all else, oh, they'll defend the Tories, whatever they do, and just some of the absolute worst people you can imagine coming across. For example, I came across this really, stereotypical one not so long ago, and if you've been on Twitter, you'll have seen this, like several Union Jacks and St George's flags in his username, banging on about Britishness, despite apparently not being able to spell a single word of English correctly. 7 followers, even fewer teeth, you get the idea. And I had a quick look on this guy's bio, and then he's proudly boasting that he used to be Amy Winehouse's bodyguard. Yeah, you fucking nailed that job, didn't you? What's your next gig? Robin Williams as psychotherapist? In sporting news from the last year, Lewis Hamilton. I'll go on with, okay, you might not like this one. Before I go on with this, I'd like to say I'm broadly supportive of it. But yes, Lewis Hamilton, last year Formula 1 World Championship, finished pretty much nowhere. Lewis Hamilton, a man who decided at a young age that he wanted to drive a Formula 1 car for a living, and later turned vegan in an effort to combat climate change. The environmental equivalent of giving your son a rape alarm after you've already sent him off to a Catholic boarding school. Further sporting news, we had the World Cup in Qatar, sort of at the end of the year. And I was quite disappointed with the England fans, because I thought they might come up with some slightly more wholesome chants when they were forced to be in stadiums where they couldn't drink. Who are you? Who are you? Because I'm genuinely interested to learn about your background and your culture. The referee's a wanker, and that's okay, because masturbation is perfectly healthy and natural. And of course the final came down to France against Argentina. And I watched this on telly, and there seemed to be, a really close game, really exciting. There seemed to be this really tense atmosphere inside the stadium. Because it was haunted by the ghosts of all the migrant workers who died building it. Okay, I'm going to leave you on a bit of a personal story of mine. A few months ago, I wasn't doing too well, and I actually spent a few weeks in hospital. And if I could sum up the hospital experience for you, never had it. There was this one afternoon where I was sort of rousing from an afternoon nap, and judging on smell alone, I just assumed one of the other patients on the ward had just used the commode. And then as I started to get all my other senses back, it turned out that it was actually dinner time, and what I could smell was the fucking hospital food. I mean, in a cost of living crisis, being in hospital is the one time where you're going to be offered a free hot meal, and it will elicit the response from you, "I'm good, thanks, I've got some Monster Munch." But I think it was on the second afternoon I was in there. What happened was a guy on my ward actually died, and I never caught his name. He was a very old and confused man, and I never knew his story. But yeah, I basically saw the whole thing unfold, watched the man die. A couple of hours later, I nipped into the toilet on the corridor just to get away from the ward for a little bit, and I accidentally walked in on this guy having a shit. There was another old and confused man, he hadn't locked the door properly basically, and I sort of backed out. I'd seen everything, and I had to use the bathroom down the corridor. And it was while I was in there that I really started to think hard about the events of the day, what I'd seen, not just the shitting man a few moments earlier, but also the guy whose life I'd seen come to an end. And, you know, I was just thinking about this. And have you any idea how difficult it is to have a wank when you've got a cannula sticking out of your hand? I think what I'm trying to say there, in a sort of roundabout way, is save our NHS. Thank you, you've been wonderful. Good luck.